A deadly heatwave is sweeping across Europe, and this key NATO ally is blamed for the crisis. As the death toll continues to rise in France, President Macron's team is pointing fingers at Washington over climate policy. Stop the lectures and do your part. Is this Paris official's blunt message directed straight at Donald Trump? Europeans are queuing up for air conditioners as the European Union struggles to respond to the escalating heatwave. With Paris hospitals and morgues overflowing, who will ultimately pay the price for the growing climate emergency? Europe is now staring at an unprecedented climate emergency as a historic heatwave continues to grip large parts of the continent. In France alone, the death toll has reportedly crossed 1,000 in the aftermath of the record-breaking heatwave. Paris officials are now reportedly holding the United States partly responsible for the worsening climate crisis. Authorities in the French capital have also criticized American tourists and expatriates demanding widespread air conditioning across Paris. Paris Deputy Mayor Audrey Pulver argued that America's greenhouse gas emissions have significantly contributed to the current climate emergency. The French official further urged the United States to stop delivering lectures and instead take a greater role in tackling climate change. The Parisian official said, and I quote, "Dear American journalists and social media influencers, for days, some of you have been criticizing and making fun of Paris. Because the city does not have a sea in every room. OMG, this is so rich. As the second largest emitter of greenhouse gas emissions in the world, you bear a significant amount of responsibility for global warming and the consequences we, in France, are experiencing. Your cities, which are 90% air-conditioned, are not unrelated to this. So please, enough with the lecture. Just start doing your part. Best regards." End quote. Meanwhile, Europeans were seen lining up to buy fans and air conditioners as temperatures continued to soar across the region.
According to the World Health Organization, more than 1,300 Europeans have died because of the brutal heat wave that has descended upon the continent. The extreme temperatures have reignited the divisive debate on air conditioning, or the lack thereof, across Europe. Does the European Commission support air conditioning as a measure to combat this extreme weather? Do you think it's effective and should be expanded? Or do you think air conditioning actually worsens the problem by releasing hot air and driving up power demand? Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge. Yes, we have seen that last week's heat wave, which was pretty much unprecedented in Europe, has led to fatalities, to tragedies, to the loss and probably premature loss of lives, which just reminds us of the importance of our climate policy, of the importance of the energy transition and all the policies that we have been putting forward, notably in terms of, for instance, the transition away from fossil fuels. It was just a very stark reminder of the many policies that we have been putting into place. Now, on your very specific question regarding air conditioning, we do know that in many instances it is required to really achieve some needed quality of the environment to be able to work, to be able to rest, and we've seen how much also those systems were impacted. And that's why we've been also preparing along with our member states. And that's where also Anna Kaiser can remind us of the measures, not only that we have put in place, but that we are also further preparing precisely in terms of climate resilience.
From Paris to London, temperatures climbed beyond a scorching 40 degrees Celsius on June 28th. France has borne the worst of the crisis, with the death toll continuing to rise amid the relentless heat. Hospitals and funeral homes across Paris are reportedly struggling to cope with the unprecedented surge in casualties. At least 109 heat-related deaths were recorded in a single day on June 26th alone, according to reports. The growing number of fatalities has reportedly pushed funeral homes across the French capital beyond capacity. Paris Emergency Medical Services received more than 3,000 calls within a week, marking a staggering 80% increase. Meanwhile, emergency room visits across Paris's public hospitals surged by an alarming 36% during the heatwave. Cardiac arrests emerged as the leading cause of deaths, while several patients also suffered severe hyperthermia triggered by extreme temperatures. France's health minister has warned that the death toll could climb even higher as the dangerous heatwave continues. Since the onset of the heatwave, at least 74 people have reportedly drowned in rivers, ponds and swimming pools, according to France's interior minister. France has also banned public drinking and imposed tighter restrictions on alcohol sales to ease mounting pressure on overwhelmed hospitals.
Well, I'm not sure that it's going to be respected, you know. But anyway, and then I don't see what difference it makes, the fact of drinking or not drinking alcohol. I mean, with the heat, yes, but well, there are other countries where there is heat and they also drink alcohol, so I don't see what it will change. Especially to ban it 2 days before the end of the heat wave. And then a person, if they know that they can drink, why forbid them if they think they can drink 2 or 3 glasses? I don't think it makes sense to forbid it. People are responsible for themselves. It's not necessarily childish. A government or anyone with decision-making power has to take measures like that. Hospitals are overloaded, that's a fact. The issue lies in the execution, how the message is conveyed and the fact that it's implemented overnight. That's the tricky part.
But there may finally be some relief for Paris, with rain showers forecast to bring temperatures down in the coming days. It is not only France suffering, as Denmark, Switzerland and the Czech Republic are also battling the relentless heat. Across Europe, soaring temperatures have triggered widespread disruptions to electricity supply and critical energy infrastructure. In Germany, authorities have curtailed non-essential train travel after the rail network was disrupted by the extreme weather. Hungary's nuclear power plant has also been forced to reduce electricity output because of exceptionally high temperatures. In Italy, dozens of people have reportedly drowned after entering rivers, lakes and coastal waters in an attempt to escape the heat. The husband of Italy's cabinet minister Eugenia Roccella has also been reported missing in Rome amid the ongoing emergency. Scientists now say this year's heatwave is the most intense and destructive ever recorded across Europe.
So we found that in the last 50 years since a previous heat wave affected Europe in 1976, that the chance of a heat wave like this has gone from almost impossible to something that we'd expect to see every couple of decades. And as the climate continues to warm, we will see events like this increasingly frequently. And in a future climate, this may be something that we expect to be commonplace. We know that in Europe, thousands of people die due to extreme heat every year. We know that the contribution of climate change to that is very strong. In general, we tend to put it at about a 2/3 increase in the number of deaths. So about 2/3 of the heat deaths that we see tend to be attributable to climate change. The first major European heat wave in 2003 was widely regarded as the wake-up call of Europe to climate change. And what that meant is countries started to plan for extreme heat and start to put in place some protections. But what we've found is that even since those plans started to be put in place, the increase in the likelihood of extreme heat like this has been really dramatic. 2 main things we can do about climate change. We can reduce our emissions and stop the problem at its source, and we can adapt to climate change. We know that climate change has happened. We know that it's continuing to happen very fast. We need to adapt our societies, our infrastructure, our behaviors to these new temperature extremes. We need to expect them to happen. They're only going to become more frequent in the near term.